To unregistered motor vehicles. So we've had several complaints, more than several. Frank, if you just want to give the number amount of people so far. Was it 6, 7?
I have at least 10 right now.
10, okay. Complaints about unregistered motor vehicles. So we looked at the code. So Frank, I don't know if you want to just give the board like a little overview of what the code is so that we know, everyone understands it.
Basically, the village code states that any unregistered vehicle on the property has to be either in a building or behind an enclosure. I guess that would be considered either a fence of some type. Currently, we have unregistered vehicles that are not in a structure or behind a fence. They're simply covered in the driveway.
So the issue comes that some of the people complaining are saying that though in the past we let vehicles be covered, that's really not what's in the code. So what we have to discuss is how do we want to address these? Do we want to do case by case? Do we want to follow the code? I don't know. I'm leaving that to whatever the one piece.
The code now states that you can have one unregistered vehicle on your property.
As long as it's in a garage or behind a fence.
As far as the covering, half the covers that I see out there are just totally destroyed anyway. I don't agree with covers. And if people want to keep them there, put them behind a fence.
You have the room. Yeah, right, some people don't.
I don't have the vehicle.
The problem is that, on the Washington Street side of Poquott, small plots of land. So we do have people who have not a whole lot of room to maneuver, there's no doubt about that. But there is some room. And right now, we're getting complaints that people have cars that haven't moved in years and years, and they're not willing to discuss some accommodation. So, and Frank, if you don't mind, I'll paraphrase what you told me, that the Brookhaven town law says that if something is under a cover, it's okay. And usually our codes have followed Brookhaven, but in this case, it didn't. And so this wasn't enforced because nobody realized that these unregistered vehicles were under covers, and that was okay, except that, people were complaining, but safety felt that they really couldn't do anything. There was no law, and then a reading of the law said, whoa, we do have that. And so we're now going back and saying, do we enforce it? Do we enforce only the ones where neighbors have formally complained? Frank's feeling was that if we're going to enforce it, we have to enforce it.
Was it for everybody?
And then,
equally?
it will create some hardships for people because, there are some people who, so, we're in a kind of a difficult situation. We already have it on the books. We're not talking about coming up with some new law. We have the law. It's been on the books for a while.
What is the actual reading of that law?
You just,
Frank, do you have that?
I don't have it printed out. I think they're printed out if you like.
27. The one for Brookhaven Town, which is below it, says that it has to be covered.
Has to be covered.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right,
But
some of
it's
the
not-
covers get ripped to shreds and they're just there. So that's not a great law, and I certainly wouldn't want to see us change the law to reflect what Brookhaven has, because then we would be sanctioned that. As you say,
Well,
on the other
the
hand, if
inside
you,
building or behind a fence with a cover. Or a suitable screen, such as unregistered motor vehicle with a view or signal cone must be stored in rear property or in the driveway, except in the
see,
driveway.
so, there's no easy solution. I mean, a diplomatic solution would be, as we've always done, live and let live until somebody makes an issue out of it, somebody complains. But then it turns out that there's been a number of complaints that have just gone unheeded because it is what it is. And,
So then it's time to correct it.
I think we don't have to act because it's already on the books, but I think as a courtesy, we need to just let people know that this is going to be the way it's going to be, and people have to be given some time to, some people are not gonna be able to do it.
Do we send a letter to the ones that we have and say this is,
We agree that this is on the books and we're going to move forward on it, and I would think that we've done that for other things, send people a letter.
Would be almost correct if we sat down and had code deliver something printed to the people and give them until
a certain day?
January 1st or
Whatever.
2nd
We need more time than that.
Well, you should an example.
to, correct the issue, or they get fined.
Some people are gonna be able to move the thing behind a fence. That's a relatively simple solution. If you have the property, move it behind a fence, then
So what the law says is, may not store more than one unregistered motor vehicle, which is which if registered, could be registered as a motor vehicle. Because there's always a discussion as to whether or not something's a motor vehicle, or there often is. So it looks like you could, although it's sort of written backwards, it looks like you may get one.
Mhm.
And it has to be either in a garage or screened by a fence. I don't see that it says anything about being covered, although I may be wrong. It looks like it's.
Oh, I was looking at Brookhaven, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so our code is,
it's there.
yeah.
We just haven't
But
really.
When the couple I prosecuted and the other one, the ones I've been aware of, it's, often associated with other issues. I mean, it hasn't been the case where the issue on the property is a car. I mean, usually it's the car plus other litter and, things that are around. So, I just want to,
What happens when they have a car and a trailer and a boat and whatever else is out there? Do they get fined for 3 different vehicles?
if they're not registered, yes. Well, it has to be a motor vehicle, so it has to fit within the definition of a motor vehicle. And then, so number one, it has to be a motor vehicle. Number two, it has to be unregistered.
So then if somebody wanted to, they could put 12 trailers there and we couldn't say a word about it.
Is there others?
No, that would probably be covered in a different part of the code.
Yeah.
There's a nuisance provision of the code also.
That's the whole maintenance of property thing, we never really did sort out. But yeah, there are loopholes and all this stuff. One day we're gonna have to sit down and say, all right, come on, we're gonna have to address all that. But no, we're just really talking about cars.
No,
So
there's money for our budget.
So how about as a courtesy, then we send letters out to the people that we've been made aware of and let them know this is the code, you have a certain, whatever time frame it is, this is what you have to correct the situation, and either contact us and we'll come and check it.
Yeah, but I think also, yes, sure, I totally agree with you, because there are people who are gonna be directly involved, but we're also, all of a sudden, we're not passing a new law, so there's not the promotion that goes along with it. We need to put it out there in some way, that everybody knows that this law is, you have to kind of deal with it, because it's going on the books. And to just, let people know, because maybe next week somebody will take their car off the road and put it on the road.
Okay.
So in other words, to let everybody know, do we have to have something printed and sent out to every house?
Something like that we could just put on the website.
All right, so then they turn around and say, we don't sit down and use a computer. We didn't know.
Okay, you can't fix it.
Well, technically, they should know because it's on the books. They'll, ignorance of the law is not an excuse. I mean, it's already, we would be doing that as a courtesy, just let people know.
We'll give them warning. Let's go give a warning.
That's the other thing too, right? It can be enforced and with a warning, and then they are directly told. But for the people that we've already had a complaint on, then we have to actually send them this letter, because it's already the next stage.
Okay, so I think we'll direct code to send out basically a courtesy letter, letting people know this is the law, and that give them a certain amount of time to correct it, and then move forward from there. Okay.
And that's just gonna be for cars or trailers, boats?
Just for the people just the complaints we have right now.
Okay.
Okay. I don't know why we got a slew of them. we just got like all of them. Okay, and then next, anyone else want to talk about motor vehicle? We had, like the last 2 meetings, we had about a half a dozen houses that were empty. We're now down to 1, right, Frank? we think? We don't know, we're gonna check that one, right?
We have, 5 Highview that has been corrected, except for the tree.
Right, they applied for a permit though, to demo it, right?
Chicken Bluff is occupied and taken care of.
They came, I spoke to them, went through the property, they've had people out there working on
We
it.
have, last one was, 27 Walnut.
That's the last one, we have to just check, right?
Is number 5, which we did an inspection, and then we should have it up there.
Oh, okay. Do you wanna do that now, or you wanna do it later, Sandy? I'll look at 27.
No.
You can do it later. You can-
And that was in New Hampshire.
I'm not sure. Okay, so.
No.
we'll-
What about that house? The one that's across the street from Dr. Bogan. He's complained several times to me.
We didn't know about that. Well,
On Walnut. It's empty. It's a disaster.
what's the address?
24.
24. Okay, so we can have them look at it for next month, okay? Well, it's 24 Walnut. Okay. All right, next we have the tree law that we had the public meeting on. We got a lot of comments, we also got a few emails from, well, I received, I don't know, let's see, 1, 2, 3 emails about the tree law. And I spoke to Roger, and he said that the planning board's going to be reviewing and making changes to this law based on input from the public hearing and any emails. But he asked that one of the trustees attends the meeting on Monday night at 7:30, and kinda is like helping the planning board put together this new law. So, I told him that one of the trustees will pick someone, someone will volunteer tonight to help with that, and that whoever comes will email these 3 responses. I think they were sent to all of us. Yeah, they were. And you'll go 7:30 on Monday? Okay, so you'll, do you still have the 3 emails? One's from Ken, one's from Peter, and the other one's from Chris Benucci, I think. Right, okay. If not, they're here, they're in the
I'm sure,
packet.
everybody got, I
Okay.
remember
Yeah,
Ken's I responded to because I
Yeah.
thought he said everything that I.
okay, so if you wanna send these 3 letters to everybody on the planning board, were you on the email today, the planning board meeting is on Monday at 7:30? No, I'll forward that to you, so everyone's email address, then you can just reply to that, and then send this to everybody so they can read the
So
comments.
they haven't gotten any of these?
No, they only send them to the board, these people. Oh, okay. Some of them I sent them out to everybody, but. And if anybody else on the board has other emails except for those 3 people, you should forward them to Jeff so he can get them to Roger. That was the law, and then these are the 3 emails. Okay, you can then throw it out. Okay. The next thing is the dock. Okay, so we had the public input about the dock, and many of the residents felt that we should send out an additional survey. So, I went back and I read the, Village of Poquott Master Plan Update from 2011, and there was a survey done back in 2009 to all the residents, and in here, the number 2 thing that the residents wanted was a dock. And the data, there's different data that shows that. They had, they wanted their dogs to be able to go on the beach, we did that, and then, they want to put up a dock for village residents to use, so it's cited in here, here, in the back of the appendix of the actual data. I'll tell you how many people it went to and how many people it came back from. And so the survey went out in 2009. It was mailed out to 395 people. some were duplicates. They received 174 questionnaires from 146 houses, and the response rate was 39%, which according to the village engineer is extraordinary. He said that was a very good pooling of what the residents wanted. And I just feel that after the survey that was done, which was all the people, the residents that lived here and what they wanted, and the survey that we did last year, which we got a very good response to too, I don't see a need that we have to do an additional survey. We know that the majority of the residents want us to at least look into it, and I think that we should start the feasibility study, have the engineer do it, have the environmental commissioner do it, and start seeing what the cost would be to actually do this.
One thing though that came up at that meeting, which, you know, I think was kind of lost with all the angry responses and whatever, but a very valid point that was raised was we were trying to get a sense of whether people would want a dock or not, and they were saying, more than one person said, I can't answer that question because you haven't described what you're talking about and how much it's gonna cost, and what exactly is the vision.
That's what the feasibility.
So, you know, we're kind of going in circles here,
Mhm.
because we're saying, well, we need to at least do a feasibility study to see what is on the table.
Right.
And they're saying, well, we can't answer that we're for it until we see what you're talking about, because, you know, maybe it's not going to be something that's going to be paid for by the boat owners.
Right.
So I think that's a valid point, and I'm not sure that I have an answer to it, but,
Well, I met with the village attorney on Tuesday, the village engineer was there, Rich was the commissioner of environmental was there, Mike from the building department was there, Harry was there. He went through each step of what would be required, what we need. He feels that's definitely the first step. We can't make any decisions without the study. So I think that we should let the village engineer start the study and see what happens.
I mean, we can always say that once we get all that stuff done, and we put it out there, people say, whoa.
Well, that's really why we'll have it done, so they can make a decision.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what I'm thinking about is, okay, we're gonna be spending money that might not go anywhere, put together feasibility stuff, so I guess that's necessary, so, okay, I'm okay.
We need a resolution for that.
Well, we'll do that. I have that in the resolutions. You know, we'll have to vote on it, so. The welcome packet. I know we were gonna send out the last round of comments. I know I didn't send anything to you. No.
I didn't get it.
Okay.
Everybody meet, and, okay. I thought we were at the stage where it's, okay, now what do we do with it?
Okay.
And that was the question. If everybody says, print them up and hand them to people?
Yeah, I think that we should put on the website, we should have one here at Village Hall. And if, when we're aware that a new person's moved in, give them a copy of it. So, I guess then we just, you wanna send the final version, and we can do that.
The version that I finished, and that was after getting comments from everybody, was, as far as I'm concerned, the final version.
Okay.
Nothing, and nobody gave me anything subsequent to that.
Okay,
But
that's
you
fine.
have the
I have it,
final
yeah.
version.
When you sent around the final version of the welcome packet, I know I didn't send back any comments, not because I didn't have anything, and no one else did either, right? So I could use that last copy then, okay.
Get that including the changes I sent to you?
Okay, discussion for policy of Village Hall, and also, Joe, did you did policy for, recording too, right?
Videotaping, I emailed it to you.
I do, I have it.
I could print it out here if I needed to.
No.
I got on my email.
The other resolution for Suffolk County, you wanna do
And
that?
I have the resolution for Suffolk County, I have copies we can talk about.
Okay. So,
whichever order you want.
either one, doesn't make any difference.
Okay, so when we do the Suffolk County one first, is that okay? This is a resolution that was adopted by Suffolk County on December 1st. Suffolk County Legislature on December 1st. And it's pretty easy to get this online. You look up Suffolk County Municipal Alliance, and you'll get right to this online. But it's basically just that. So what Suffolk County has been discussing since July is to go to starting to move towards the type of zoning that Nassau County does, where basically zoning, as an example, where the county does a lot of the planning for zoning rather than having it done on a local level, village by village. So the county is saying that many of the decisions that are made now locally, the county would like to be involved and have several municipalities involved in the decision through the county. And zoning is an example. Other examples might be things like the sewer, different sewer systems that they're talking about. Although sewers are not mentioned in this law. And what they want to do to start this process is to start having quarterly meetings of this alliance, right? So they're gonna say, okay, we're gonna have the county will set a meeting date, and whatever the date is, I don't know that they've set it yet, but there'll be quarterly meeting dates. And what they've done in this law is they've said that if you do not participate in this, you'll exclude your village from county funding, county grants and funding. So they haven't they did mention economic development funding, which is usually your downtown Main Street grants and the CDBG revolving loans. We don't have a downtown, so that wouldn't necessarily affect us. It's typically things for like lighting and curbing and streets, but there are county funds that we, from time to time, access. We have had county grants in the past, I believe. So this is being addressed by SCOVA. Suffolk County Village Officials Association will pull people together and try to. The board of SCOVA right now is trying to figure out if that organization wants to respond to this. But what we need to do is we need to stay on top of it, and if one of these meetings comes up, we need to decide whether or not we're going to send somebody to it, because the impact of not sending somebody to it could be number one, you could be left out of decisions that are made, and number two is we could be precluded from county funding in the future.
Okay. Now, do we have to approve a resolution for this or not yet?
No,
They're not
not
up
yet.
to
I just want to let you know that it's
No,
around.
okay.
You should become familiar with it because it's going to be it's talked about online now by different. Some of the towns out east have already sent in letters saying that they think that this is intrusive, and the county should really mind its own business, and where the point of having towns and villages is to do your own zoning and contracting and things. But
Well, that's one of the benefits of being a village,
Right.
correct?
But the discussion now is in the open and it's being talked about.
Okay.
So in Nassau County's example, a village, as I understand it, a village cannot adopt its own zoning code. You have to have the zoning code that's approved by the county. I believe that that's more or less a correct summary. And it's sort of like talking about that in this law, just as one of the things they mentioned.